What's year to date? Is that July or June? June. Okay, through June, we had an actual estimated expenditure, or let me, so I don't mess this up. Dan, can you describe our actual estimate? This is our, not only actual here, but our estimate for the remainder of the fiscal year.
Right, the actual numbers reflect tax collection statements through May. And then to make it an even half year, it's easier to look up things that are halfway through. We looked at 2014 performance in June to estimate what it could be halfway through. We also adjusted that number for the tax decrease this year. For the expense numbers, we looked at the payroll account activity, the bank account activity, and we also know what sewer payments were made. Based on other account activity, you can estimate the other. And that's a pretty big other number, and we will be hoping for greater detail before we get to that. To do the projected full year 2015, we simply double payroll. We assume that the borough would make all 4 sewer payments for the year, and that the second half other expenditures would be the same as the second half of 2015. So we put together these estimates based on a number of different sources, between bank account statements, Dartmouth Creek Authority statements, budgets, the ODE report, and I don't think anybody say this was perfect, but we put the best we can together.
Okay, and one of our biggest question marks is, given the amount of other expenditures through the first 6 months of $330,000, the sort of filling out the rest of the budget, including transfers and payments of over $1 million or almost $900,000, is one of the other things that we are still trying to find.
Are you talking about 2015 and 2000?
Yes.
That's what, but that's other, that's not.
That's not payroll, nor is it the payment, the one payment made to the sewer authority.
That's the other.
Correct. What's that? Other non-personnel. Correct. Is that, by the way, just out of curiosity, does that sound high, low?
Sounds high. Because if it's not payroll, if it's not one of them, I was going to say, then that has to be that new contract that we just signed. Or is it insurance?
Yeah, there's a lot of insurance coverages and repairs and contracted work from the engineer who is fixing sinkholes and emergency street repairs. So that adds up quick.
And remember, we're going by the monthly checks out of the bank account, and the expenditure of the general fund after transfers from the tax account and the tax fund into the general fund and the tax fund into the sewer into the payroll account. Sorry.
Because some of the sinkholes we should be billing other people for. Like there's a problem with our sewer on second time. It really has already been traced back to the school district. The school district owes us a lot of money. They were never billed for our land development. And that's over $20,000 just for that.
Yeah. Now these details are exactly the types of things I will tell you when we're in other Act 47 cities or when we're working with other cities. Those are the type of details that with proper accounting and being able to see those things would either one pop out immediately, or they would have already been accounted for in some, even if they hadn't been implemented, they would have been doing that. So part of what we're trying to do, and what we want to try to do, is help get Colwyn into a position so that it can look at its revenues and look here and identify potential other sources for either reimbursement or charging other governments or other revenue sources, as well as the potential for things that Colwyn might have said, okay, we have done an expenditure, but now there might be another jurisdiction whose responsibility is that expenditure. So we want to try to get your accounting, help set it up so that will be more
Because we haven't built them.
easier to do.
We haven't built them for our salaries. They pay half of our cost of our salaries, and not just the salaries. They pay the salaries and the workman's comp, and that hasn't been built. And that should be almost $28 a month.
Okay, we're taking notes on that, and that is very helpful. Remember, again, we are basically looking at bank inflows and outflows of banks. So one of the things that we don't have, except for very sporadic right now, are things where there were bills sent or invoices sent out, or bills that come in and have not been paid. So that's one of the things. That's our next step. And part of our story to DCED, I'll note here, is typically we would be in and we'd say, all right, we've looked at the books, we've looked at this, here are some of the things here, here's our preliminary assessment, and we're getting ready to say, here's what we're going to recommend for next steps moving out over the next few years. We are still in what is the overall assessment, what of the financial condition, what is the sort of where are there still holes, and where is there additional potential for expenditure pressures or revenue pressures. So we're still in I don't know how I'd say it, but I'd still say we're in the 6th or 7th inning instead of the 9th inning on getting a good handle on that. However, I think one of our main idea now is to try to make sure we have the broadest, biggest picture handle. And I think we feel that we're getting close, but continued assistance here would be very, very helpful on that to see. And so when we look here at the operating revenues and expenses in 2015, this is the actual year to date. This is some of these are from the previous chart. Our projected year end is anticipated. This is what Dan Connelly was just mentioning here. Our revenues through June, 1.38 million. Anticipated at the end of the year, and that was basically assuming that payments similar to 2014 would be about 1.6 to 1.7 million, and expenses would be another $1 million based on the 658 that we've already seen here. Right now, because of the nature of the tax revenues for this year, cash surplus or deficit of $722,000. And that, by the way, we backed into that. We took the numbers for the balances in the general fund and the tax account and backed into these numbers here from those. So the beginning fund balance of 273, change in fund balance, this projected year end, a slight surplus, would leave an ending fund balance of $292,000, and the remaining payables from prior years as identified and tallied by the EIP, by Stevens and Lee of the EIP, 933,000. We're still checking, we're still going over that, but that's basically what we consider to be a good round number for that, a good ballpark figure of that. Would mean the remaining fund balance, if everything else was zero at the beginning of 2014, of $640,000. What's that?
What happened to the $180,000?
We have to take a look. My suspicion is that 100.
You were saying this is what took us to Act 37. When we lowered the taxes and we did the budget was done. It left an $180,000 deficit. Now you're telling us we're okay. So what happened to the original deficit?
No, I don't want to suggest that at all and nor do we want to suggest that we think everything's okay. We're looking at the annual expenditures. My suspicion is that the $180,000 deficit, which I asked my colleagues, have we seen any number or reference to that number?
I think it was a reference to over budgeting, real estate tax collections in the budget, result of
No, because they lowered taxes. That's what Google gave us, our $180,000. They lowered it by a certain percentage. That's the reason we went to at 47. That's why the reason we actually contacted, myself and Pat contacted you guys because of that $180,000 and the fact that we had a $1.3 million general fund, but our police department had a budget of $889,000. That's basically what us.
Right, and I don't know what precipitated exactly the application for Act 47. I know the consultative report identified, they investigated a number of things and found that the main criteria was that you didn't make your MMO payment on time, which is one of the determinations for Act 47. And there was, the consultative report noted that there was an inability to validate several other characteristics of distress, the ones that are outlined in the Act. I think the rest of it, even frankly, was a big part of that. I just want to reiterate what Steve said. Not for a second do we want anybody to get the impression that the borough is in a sound financial position. It is not. You can run, you can stay cash positive and have severe financial deficiencies for some of the reasons that we explained earlier. Lack of capital improvement planning, some services that might be under-resourced. The fact that you have $900,000 payable coming in at the end of into the beginning of the year, and even after what looks to be like a balanced cash year, you still have an ending fund balance that is getting close to like 40% or so of your total operating revenue. So it's very, very concerning. That these numbers are so funny, or excuse me, not funny at all, fuzzy, because some of the practices that are in place in other municipalities that can be improved here.
And the reason we turned over $217,000 in unpaid taxes for 2014. That's on top of what we turned over. We turned over $150,000.
What do you mean by turned over?
Taxes that weren't paid in 14 that went to court at the beginning of the year. We get delinquent tax
Reports from the previous years.
Right, and that report this year was $217,000, but it was over $100,000 in 14. So are we forgoing the tax that has not come in from the prior years? Because I know that Cornwall was only collecting at 47% to 50% of the taxes.
Right.
And we haven't even started collecting our trash, our delinquent trash. So that's, I'm just trying to.
Well, here, I mean, maybe to your point in a bigger picture, improving current and delinquent tax collections is very important to forward. That 217 that you referenced, that sounds about right. That's how we backed into that 84.5% tax collection rate.
And the only reason I bring it up is because this borough being on just tax revenue base, if you still have that outstanding come 2015, on top of whatever hole you had in your budget for 2015, you still have a hole in 14 for that amount of taxes, because if you don't collect it, you can't pay anything.
Well, when you budget, you should budget. How much are we going to get this year in current tax collections, and how much are we going to get in delinquent? And then you add the numbers together, and that's the core of your revenue budget for this.
I have a question, because when you count payroll, 2014, 2015, and the example is, when you do your budget, do you add into that the lawsuit? Or no? They have no bearing on budget?
Well, when you say
Because payroll in 2014, there's a lawsuit for payroll for 2014 for another $55,000. Should have been added to that payroll if they pay that settlement. As far as I'm concerned, even if we're paying a deductible on any lawsuits, we pay a deductible, right? So, and then the money, that's why the insurance went up and up, because the money that the insurance company pays, then that still somehow is going to affect the borough for the next year.
It affects it.
So, wait a minute, let me speak. You don't speak, you don't cover the meeting again.
Excuse me, ladies,
Yeah,
let's,
you can
let's,
cover the meeting again.
we're gonna finish up our presentation, and we're gonna go into
Okay,
questions.
that's all I wanted to know, because as far as I'm concerned, another 50,000 for 2014.
Okay, that's it.
That would be other expense.
Let's finish the presentation, and we'll go to question and answers. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. In fact, you can flip the way. It is, we're at the end here too, but I want to go over the next steps here for the Act 47 plan here. Preliminary findings, that's what we're looking at here. In September, we have a draft plan with all submitted comments considered is filed with DCED. We will have a draft recovery plan set up for Colwyn. Final plan is filed with DCD in October. A public hearing is conducted in November, and the governing body, the Borough Council, either approves or rejects the revised plan in December. In other words, basically this fall, we work on a quote-unquote recovery plan. What steps to take, what processes here. I do want to separate out one thing though. There's a recovery plan that is a fiscal plan. There are also things that we are trying to do, which we mentioned earlier, to just set up the basic processes and procedures. They're not, in a sense, they're not political decisions or allocations or anything like that. It's the basic principle, the basic accounting methods here. And one of the things that we're doing, sort of, I will tell you, it's the unsexy stuff, but basically setting up those, helping to set up those accounts and procedures so that you can move forward and the council can look and have information when it's making decisions going forward. So that's something that will be that will also be going on. It'll be part of the draft plan, the recovery plan, but it's a sort of a I say it's a column B